It's April 12th, 2020, and welcome to episode 34 of the Babymetal podcast. We gather in the podcast Discord server on alternate weeks to discuss news and thoughts on the past and future projects of Babymetal. We invite you to join us, whether you're a longtime fan or have only just arrived. I am Paul, and I am joined still by Kevin.
Still tired. Welcome back.
And Garrett.
Slightly more tired. Hello.
And Facu.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yes. Again, still, who knows? Behind the scenes, we have recorded these two episodes right next to each other. But so, yeah, in the previous episode, which you probably just heard, we talked a bit about, the new airing of Legend Metal Galaxy Night 1 on WoW and the YouTube streams of Tokyo Dome Red Knight and Black Knight. So now we are going to actually talk. We have Facu here specifically because he's done a lot of really interesting work on kind of gathering data and making it available, organizing it for the fan base, and it's been really helpful to have that available. And we wanted to kind of talk to him about what he's done and how he got to the fan base and so forth, and make sure that if you're not aware of some of the things that are out there, we'll make you aware of what's there. So, okay, that's basically enough of a lead-in. So, hello, Facu.
Oh.
Maybe you could just sort of talk a little bit about how you actually got started. We heard last time that the Tokyo Dome show was your first one, but what led up to that?
Oh, yeah. Well, like many fans, my start was the Fine Bros video, YouTubers react to Babymetal. It was, I saw the video when it released in 2014, but I was, at the time, I just said, like, this is another weird thing from Japan, and, but, yeah, but then about a year later, just out of nowhere, I recalled the video, and it got stuck in my head. So to stop that, I had to go and find it again and watch it. And I watched it, and this time I was actually interested in what was happening. So I went to their YouTube channel, watched those videos, which was Doki Doki Morning, Headbanger, Giving Chocolate, and Roar, Roar Resistance had just released. And then I I actually fell in love with the music. So I started listening again and again and again, just the music videos for a few months, actually. Literally just the music videos on their YouTube channel. And then at some point, I found Budokan, which had also just released. And that's it. When I watched Budokan, there was no turning back for me. It was the first time I was seeing, songs like Akatsuki, Onedari, so it was just amazing. And then I just, like other fans, I just fell down the foxhole from there. Get to subreddit, watching videos, Sakura Green songs, everything.
So what did you? So a lot of us who have gotten here later have benefited from all the things that you have collected. But what did you rely on? Like, what was your source of information back when you were new?
Well, there was even if the fan base was much smaller, there was still quite a few things. Like the ProShot spreadsheet was already up. I remember. And there were a lot of fans that were helpful. Basically, there wasn't a place to go to find all the info. There was technically Babymetal Newswire was pretty good. But, if you wanted to know how to apply for tickets for the show, basically, no, there was no specific place to go. So that was my first post in the subreddit. I was asking for how the hell do I get tickets to Yokohama? Like, I had no idea, and I was like, how does this work? And they explained it to me, and I was like, oh, well, that's very hard. It was basically like now, but harder. So, yeah.
So I guess it became obvious there was a need for this information to be more easily accessible.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. That's why after about a year of doing that, I started myself trying to collect information. But initially it was just for myself, just, saving videos and pictures and information stuff, because I knew they could be taken down or I could forget about it. But then, well, I saw that people were asking for it, people wanted to find it or whatever, and so I started actually putting it up and putting the info and all that, and well, slowly I got to where I am now.
So what's the inventory of things that you maintain at this point?
Whew.
Yeah, maybe that's a hard question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, yeah, because there are quite a few big things, but then there are tons of small things. Well, first of all, obviously, I think you mentioned I manage the Babymetal News website and social media.
And that's excellent. That's a very excellent resource, by the way. I mean, like we've referred to it a bunch, but that's when I'm trying to figure out what I want to talk about in the next episode. That's the first place I look. As to what have you put there, because you know what all the news is. So
yeah, thanks.
Always one step ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, it's really an incredible resource.
No, generally I take information from other people. It generally help me, and I try to put it in a concise, neat package. I actually use the website myself. I put stuff up there for myself still. I use it a lot to remember what happened. So it's a help even for me. But yeah, I managed the website, and then I manage, the ProShot spreadsheet for about, over 2 years now. I've been managing it, and I also manage the costume art archive. It's not very known, but if you want to know any of the costumes Babymetal has worn, you can find it all there.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
You're welcome. And the locations map, there's a map with all the locations of all their shows, but also, where they took some pictures, for Babymetal or in diaries and stuff like that. The very famous, Megitsune Shrine is on there, and merch locations like Trio in Tokyo, very famous, and even the whole basically expedition you have to do for from Suzuka's photo book around Hiroshima. Yes, it has all stuff like that, and then I also help with the Ultimate Fan spreadsheet. I put a lot of info there, which is the best place to find, set lists and who played when and all that information. And then I have a few others like the Ariuki archive, the fan art guy.
Oh, nice.
I didn't realize that was you too.
Yeah, I generally don't put my name on stuff. I don't know. I don't want to. The non. I should get a better name for it, but the non-main Babymetal album spreadsheet, which is basically all the songs they've played live or studio or whatever, which aren't on the main albums. Which you wouldn't think it's a lot, but the list is pretty long by now, honestly. It's all different versions of songs. I'm checking the list. It's like 50 songs by now. So
that's pretty wild. I wonder if we're gonna get more of those. I mean, it seems like it's the last addition to that must have been kind of a long time ago now.
Well, technically in the list, I add anything that has different versions. So, for example, Elevator Girl is on the list. Yeah, it's not. It's technically obviously on the album, but it has 2 different versions. And
right.
But yeah, I think the last actual edition would be the Unikiri theme, the show, the intro from 2017.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah, that short intro is the last.
I periodically, I remember and forget that is them. I mean, to the extent that Homagenai is ridiculous, that is, even more ridiculous.
And really out of nowhere, just literally.
Yeah. But it's still very funny to see, because I do, honestly, I've watched the show a fair amount, and there's no reason that I'm watching the show except for the fact that, I know who made the theme music. But it is kind of cool to see their name come up in the credits at the end.
Yeah, I've never seen it myself, but I've seen just the intro.
It's, what you'd expect.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's one thing that is kind of amazing about, this sort of like baby metal fandom is just like the degree to which things are very well organized, and I think you have had a lot to do with that. There are a lot of spreadsheets. I mean, I'm sure there are some spreadsheets that are not under your control, but I mean, I think that it's been really useful to be able to just kind of, if you have a question, you can go find it out, and there's a way to do it. You don't have to just like hope somebody's in the Discord or something that knows the answer.
Oh yeah. That's generally the idea. So you can find something pretty quickly and have it all in one place. I even still have ideas for stuff. I was told, I can't remember now who, but at the forum, someone asked me and said, like, can you make a spreadsheet for all of the merch? Like all the merch Babymetal sold from the start.
That's a task.
And yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. We do have, there's a list a Japanese fan made with the t-shirts. So up till 2017. So that helps a ton. But yeah, all the much smaller stuff is going to be really hard to add, especially if it's old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess eventually I'll probably try and start building it at least.
You need a team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to, so two things. First, that sounds awesome. I mean, like I would love to have that spreadsheet, even though I understand, I understand like looking at my shelves, the degree to which this is a difficult task, but it would be really cool to have, and it is a finite task. Like it is possible to kind of look at the things that they sold if there were screen captures or whatever, and kind of line it up. But the other thing I was going to say was just that, can you think of a way in which people can be helpful to you? Like, is there something that anyone can do to sort of help your projects along?
Well, sometimes just notifying me of something maybe I've missed and haven't posted or put up somewhere. That's generally the first way to help me. So I know something I haven't, maybe it's I missed it, or maybe I just haven't put it up yet. But either way, it helps. And then I've been trying to find ways, because obviously it's a lot of work, and sometimes it can be too much, and I can't keep up with it some days. But it's a bit hard, because there have been things like, for example, the Ultimate Fan Spreadsheet, or the previous, the Kitsune Network map, which were basically everyone put in your info, everyone join up and help. But not too infrequently, things got deleted. Even generally, it's probably a mistake, not on purpose, but someone presses Control-Alt and deletes, and it has happened. The Kitsune Network, before they launched the website, that was because at one point someone deleted all of the pins, all of them. Yeah, so they had a backup, but that's the reason why. I'm trying to basically find a way to balance both things. I could do like the Ultimate Fan Spreadsheet has two versions. It has one which is public and the other is locked. So that's a way it can happen. I've already talked to some people to help me. People I trust, I know. I've given them, passwords to my accounts. So if there's anything, missing or something I can't do, they can add it themselves. So, but it's still a small group, so it's still a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that it is appreciated, but that doesn't make it less work. So, hopefully, if people who are listening to this who have things that they, want to alert you of, hopefully they will do that.
Yeah, sure. Send me a message anywhere, basically.
Yeah, and I got to say, just for myself, I have leveraged your site more times than I can count. In fact, just in January, I was trying to remember where the damn Megitsune shrine was and what station to get off was, and I, of course, found it in your guide on your website, Babymetal News. And I'm sure I'm not alone. You have contributed so much to this community. It's really incredible.
Well, thank you very much.
I know that I've come back, somewhat repeatedly to the breakdown of all the different versions of Metal Galaxy and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to just like have the information available, but, to have organized it in a way that is kind of understandable is also really, really useful. And also another thing that you've been doing. So you have a relatively high status in the Reddit subreddit hierarchy, and you've often been, sort of doing putting the posts up that have to do with like the concert thread, the individual show threads, and that kind of stuff. What thoughts do you have about that? I mean, it's definitely been useful to have those. Oh, and the thing that actually led me to saying this, and then I'll stop talking, but is that you also have done some pretty useful stuff about how to become a member of the One. Like how to navigate through the Japanese websites and know what to expect so that you can actually do this. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I absolutely used that guide the very first time and second time I subscribed to the One.
You're welcome. Yeah, the basic idea with it is one, I actually helped myself because by this point I know how to do it, but initially I didn't. So the first time I did it, I wrote down everything I had to do, okay, step by step, just to remember myself. And then I said other people can use this, so I started posting it, and then I started doing the same with anything, any big release, merch, or if there's a show announcement, stuff like that. I want the information to be clear to everyone. Okay, the show is here. It's this date. This is what we know. You can get tickets here. Just to be absolutely clear about it, because generally sadly it's not very easy. Sometimes you even go on the Babymetal website and maybe there's not a link to the tickets or something like that. It has happened quite a few times. So I try to help a bit with that. Yeah, it's just to try and help. Yeah.
It definitely is helpful. How long have you been sort of like, sort of taking charge of these threads and stuff on the subreddit for the events and that kind of stuff? I see your name a lot there now.
Yeah, well, I still feel it's a bit recent, but I must have started around mid 2017, something like that. That's when I started, but it wasn't all the time. I think around 2018, that's when I started doing it almost every post, at least.
So how bad is it on the back end? I don't read the Reddit as much as I probably should. I sort of check in on it, although I mostly spend time on the associated Discord. But what are your impressions of sort of seeing the actual stuff that comes in on the subreddit? Is it all right, or do you have to moderate a lot of stuff out?
Well, there is a lot of moderation, but it's mostly just people breaking the rather strict rules we have. That's generally just because they don't read. It's not malicious or anything. It's people who post, title is, I think the one I removed today, title was Black Knight. And it's like, what's the post about, And,
yeah.
But yeah, there have been a few, I guess, bad things, but it's mostly the last month has been terrible with t-shirt spam. For whatever reason, tons of subreddits, including ours, has been getting a lot of people bots just putting up their random t-shirts with stolen fan art. And but that's mostly the worst of it. Then some people, make things difficult, start insulting or whatever, but it's generally the people you obviously know aren't going to be productive members because I've already seen the comments from them, and it's always either complaining or insulting someone. Mm-hmm. Very few times is it a productive member, basically.
Sounds like moderating a Reddit, the subreddit for Babymetal is like moderating any subreddit. A lot of similarities dealing with immature people.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, it's.
Obviously, there's a variety of things that make it actually onto the subreddit and stuff, but it's still a pretty good community. We like to think of ourselves as, well, I won't disparage other social platforms, but the subreddit's one of the better ones.
Yeah, overall, it's pretty good. That's the reason I certainly stayed there and became a moderator. Sometimes, if other people see it as a bad place to talk, mainly because, two things is the rules are relatively strict. Basically, you can't just post a random picture or video. And also because I'd say most people in the subreddit know more than the average Babymetal fan. And so they tend to, sometimes people are a bit aggressive maybe and how they say stuff. So yeah, so newcomers will like kind of get scared away basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe there should be like a training wheels version of the subreddit.
It would certainly help, definitely.
Yeah. One thing that I'm sure you've confronted a lot, I don't really have any idea like what I'm trying to ask here, but I guess just sort of observing that when you're trying to keep track of something like the ProShot spreadsheet, there's an obvious tension. Like, I think we are responsible as a community and so forth, but there's an obvious tension between the interests of the copyright owners and
of course
the fans. And even backing up further than that, my belief, at least, is that the sort of corporate interests and the artist's interests are not even themselves in alignment, because I think the artist probably does want this stuff out there. But I mean, even apart from just the stuff that's relatively easily buyable ProShot stuff, there's a ton of just sort of treasures like television appearances and things like that we don't want to lose. There's definitely kind of like a big video canon that we always want to be able to see the video at the Frog or whatever, and or those kind of things. And it's frustrating to have to kind of like be in this tension with the management.
It's hard. It's hard myself because I try to have everything in order myself on my folder. I have like 2 to 3 terabytes of Babymetal data right now.
Jeez.
Yeah. Because I save everything. If it exists, I save it. Fan art or pictures or just people entering the venue, I just save that picture. I don't know. It could be useful at some point, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm basically, I am the Babymetal NSA, basically. Okay. So yeah, be careful what you upload.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's comforting to know that somebody's taking care of this stuff, because it could very well be, there are people who say nothing has ever deleted from the internet or whatever, and that is so wrong. There are things that can disappear forever if nobody's kept them. It's only the things you don't want. Those are the things that stay forever. But, yeah.
So where do you see, I'm just going to call it a media empire that you've created, curating all of this content?
That's a good topic.
Going forward, like, we all wish we could do this forever, but there will come a time when we probably can't. So what's your plan going forward with all of your content?
Are you gonna like?
Well, yeah, I've thought about that. That's kind of why I got this little team I mentioned together also, because if I end up getting bored of it or something happens to me or whatever, I wanted to have someone has access to all these things just in case, and they at least know a bit how to keep it going, basically, because eventually it's going to happen. I mean, the the person managing the Babymetal Newswire website was also pretty hardcore fan, and in late 2017 they stopped being a fan, at least to that level. So eventually it's going to happen to me as well. So I'm trying to put something together in case that ends up happening. For now, there's no problem. I'm still pretty hyped, thankfully. So yeah, there isn't a need for that yet.
Do you have do you have anything in the pipeline or anything that you want to add to maybe Babymetal News that you haven't yet, or haven't had the capacity or skill to add?
Honestly, there are like a million things that come to mind, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. That's gonna take 50 hours. I'm not gonna take, right now I'm just, the latest thought now with all the time I have here is I was maybe just gonna add to the video I made with the the how to become the one member, and maybe do a how to see Babymetal in Japan video or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be super useful, I bet.
Yeah, just get the text thing into video form, maybe. But I'm pretty useless with editing video and recording. So yeah, it's just the first video took 50 recordings each section. So
Wow.
I'm not looking forward to that part
Nice.
again.
Well, I know some people who can maybe help with that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, stuff like that. Basically, I'm trying to recall right now, but I can't think of other. But I know I have a million things that I want to add eventually.
Hmm.
And actually, one thing that somehow I didn't end up asking about was, so you said that the Tokyo Dome show was the first one that you were at, but you've done, I think you ran through the whole, like the US 2018 tour, did you not? Like you've been to many since then, right? What has that been like, I guess?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a good topic. Yeah, those were so Tokyo Dome were my first shows. Before that I had tried. Well, I mentioned I had tried to go to Yokohama. It wasn't possible by then, but then I got tickets to the Wiltern in LA for 2016. I had tickets, but I couldn't go, so I sold them. Well, kind of good because Tokyo Dome ended up being like a good first show, I'd say.
I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. And then the following year, I went to Big Fox Festival in Osaka.
Oh, you're in the pro shot, aren't you?
Yeah. We appeared a few times because we complained at the time, I remember, because they sent all of us foreigners to the very back. But we had so much luck that in the pro shot, the camera was right behind us, so we appeared a ton of times. So
Very
I
cool.
guess Koba made it good in the end. So thank you, Koba. But yeah, and those actually, even before knowing they were the last Metal shows, I already thought they were my favorite shows. Basically, they were the first time I was in a pit at all. And basically, the pit I was in both nights was just spectacular. I mean, it was great people. It was fun. It was, I really can't put it into words. It was the perfect experience, honestly. A great set list and just everything, honestly.
Yeah, certainly from the like watching the pro shot side of things, I loved that show. I watched that many, many, many times.
I can only imagine actually being there live. That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the time we didn't think it was going to be that, special because, sure, they had names, but it was like, okay, this isn't going to be a Tokyo Dome thing. This isn't a legend show. But, the pro shot ended up being super good. I mean, very well done. Mm-hmm. So it's also my go-to. I always listen to, if I'm in the car, I always listen to that one. That Babymetal Death is outstanding. And, well, the Java intro as well. Then I was there, and that was when they announced Legend S, right that very night. They had been teasing it all the nights before that, and that night they announced it, and I was like, damn, I'm in Japan, and this show is in a month. Not kidding, by the way. And I want to go there. So how do I do, to come back? Because I had promised myself that the first show in Hiroshima, I was going to be there. I don't care if it's small, if it's just a 20-person show, I have to be there. But well, it was obviously impossible because just the timeline didn't add up, of course. But then the following year, I did, as you mentioned, the US tour. At the very beginning, I went to every single show except the first and last one. So I missed Kansas City, the very infamous show by now. I was actually on the plane while that was happening, so I had no idea.
Oh yeah, I think I do vaguely remember that fact, actually.
Yeah, I was on the plane. I had no idea. And when I landed, I wouldn't be lying if I had 1,000 messages. Not kidding at all. Yeah, that's the worst part. And then, well, I saw all that tour up to Nashville. Didn't see Rock on the Rage, but it was the first part of that tour was very, I'd say, depressing, because unlike the previous times I've been to other shows, the fans were completely distraught. I don't know. Obviously, not everyone, but the general, sense you could get from fans wasn't very fun. So it was kind of the shows were still fun themselves, by the way. They were my first shows in a small venue, so it was very, very fun to see them, they're 3 feet away from you or less. And so it was a spectacular, honestly, in that regard. And then that same year, I went and saw the Japan tour, the 5 shows, because they thankfully they all landed in the same week, so it was very easy to be able to see them. And well, those were my last shows, because I tried to go to Legend and Yokohama Arena. Well, I had tickets, I had the flight, I had everything until the day of I was supposed to travel, and let's say I misplaced my passport. Well, it was basically taken from me, but yeah, misplaced.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't go in the end. That's why I still haven't seen the shows. Probably never will, because it just reminds me of that.
Right. Yeah, and I apologize for having reminded you of it now.
No,
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And then I did go to see the Forum, since it was the Metal Galaxy Reese show. I had missed Wembley, and I was like, no, I gotta see the next album release, and it's closer to me this time. I can go direct flight, everything. And well, I did it. It was very fun. Maybe it wasn't as big, maybe as Wembley, but it was still, very fun to see. Basically, the most important part for me was seeing everyone I had either already met or never met, but had talked online for years. So that was the best part of it. And nothing. And that very night, the Legend Metal Galaxy lottery came out, the results, and I had won a super massage pit ticket. So I was ecstatic, because as many people who have tried know, those tickets for foreigners are impossible to win, literally impossible. So I was super happy, but well, then work got in the way and things got in the way, so I couldn't go. That one isn't as stingy as the Legend M1, though it's still not fun to remember. But I can still see the show, and I could still enjoy it. So that's the cool thing.
Well, and yeah, I mean, it's cool that you were able to go to the Forum, and Tokyo Dome is just amazing.
Yeah.
So I went to the Charlotte show in that U.S. tour. I suppose probably, if you were with a somewhat stable group of people that was kind of going through that U.S. tour starting in Kansas City, I could see like those are the people who are going to be the most sort of affected by the UE-lessness of that show, of that tour.
Yeah, you could see the contrast.
I think even at that time, I think I was kind of guessing that they were actually targeting places where people generally weren't going to have expectations. These are going to be people who are interested and curious about what this is, and not hoping for the next opportunity to greet UE Metal or whatever. So that's, I assume, why they wound up in Kansas City and Charlotte and all these places that they probably would normally never get them. Anyway, I had no point. I was just rambling.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, Kansas City is a pretty weird. Yeah, they've played twice, by the way, because they played in 2019 again.
Yeah, I was at both of them.
And it was good.
It was great.
So that city got 2 shows, which obviously awesome, but it's just funny that Kansas City gets 2 shows, but there are tons of cities in Japan which have 0 shows. And
right,
and I mean the big cities, right?
Well, here in Missouri, we're the test dummies.
Yeah, Babymetal works in mysterious ways.
Yes.
Yep.
I would like to point out that I feel like Facu, to a certain degree, is responsible for a large part of the information we have in the past few years, and we, as a community, owe him a huge thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. I second that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, just seeing someone ask me where I'm from, I'm from Argentina. So I lived a bit in the U.S., so I have a bit better accent, I guess. But since I don't speak English at all, I just type it. It's some words kind of get stuck.
Well, I can tell you that was not at all obvious to us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I couldn't have told you that.
Yeah. And Babymetal has yet to show up in South America at all, right? Correct?
Yeah. South America, Africa, and Antarctica. So yeah, hopefully we're not the last one.
Right.
Last
Yeah,
continent.
hopefully they don't play Antarctica before they get down to you.
Yeah.
Knowing
would
Cobra,
be
it's
kind of
quite
insulting.
possible. It's completely possible.
Cryptid in chat asks what your favorite thing that you have ever reported on for Babymetal News is.
Any posts stand out?
Well, yeah, I guess the Fox Day announcement from last year was very surprising, fun. I mean, it was very entertaining just to see. We had, up to that point, we had come off 2018. We had no idea what was coming up next. And Fox Day was about to end. So everyone was pissed off. Everyone was, just abandoning ship, basically. And then they post that massive announcement of a new album and 4 new shows, including Legend M, which we thought, a lot of people thought that it wasn't going to happen because, whatever, Babymetal had changed or something. But
yeah, so naming it Legend M was a big thing.
Yeah, just the name was very important. Yeah, I guess that was the favorite one. And just because
Right.
I'm thinking of it, the worst one was just because it came to my head was I posted the website didn't exist yet, but in 2018 I posted at the end of the EU tour. One of the muscle metals had posted a blog post where she, I think it was Minami, I don't remember, had posted basically a blog post where she was talking about a show and how great it was or whatever. And for whatever reason, I translated the page using automated translator, and I thought she was talking about Babymetal. So I put the post up on Reddit, on Twitter, everywhere, just like, she's talking here, here's the translation, everything. And then some people who knew Japanese came up and said, no, not at all. She's not talking about Babymetal at all. And I was like, oh no, what have I done? And it took quite a while to correct it because they corrected me, several hours later. So the damage was already done by that point. Thankfully, it wasn't super important, I guess, but it was still. I don't like making mistakes like that.
Right. I don't recall ever hearing about it, so I guess at least I didn't get sucked into whatever it was.
Good thing. Have you guys talked about, I don't know, speculation for whatever's going to happen after this?
We do sort of regularly talk about that, but did you have some specific speculation you would like to contribute?
Well, I don't know. I was thinking, well, after Fox Day, which I was actually before Fox Day, obviously, I was questioning myself, are they going to announce XX Day if it's a show or whatever? Are they going to announce it with the current situation? And well, they didn't. I'm actually surprised they even put October there because it kind of still says, okay, we're still planning something for October.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no announcement. So I'm thinking, basically, what are they going to do now? We don't have a lot of things because I think the EU tour, the European tour, is probably going to get canceled. I mean, we don't know, of course, yet, but it's probably going to get completely canceled. Sadly, of course. And then we don't really have anything left. Basically, we only kind of assume that obviously Legend Mellow Galaxy is going to get a release.
Right.
Well, obviously, we know we're looking forward to the release of Forum, already sold, and the second night of Metal Galaxy being shown on WoW. But then, like, what else are they going to do? I think it's possible they may just announce it dual lottery, but then, if it gets moved, just carry over the tickets. I think that's what I imagine they might do, because if there's no show or anything, as some speculate, for the next year, the one 2020 is not going to make much sense. You know, it's only going to be
Yeah.
only one set is going to be sold, so they have to do something with it, I imagine.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky.
That's an interesting thought. I hadn't considered the implications of the 2020 membership and having to cancel or reschedule things.
Yeah, it makes it sort of one step even less friendly to non-domestic concert goers. But because I mean, like if you're in Japan anyway, it's not that big of a deal to just like say, all right, well, it's going to be next year or it's going to be in 9 months or whatever. But you know, if you had to fly there now a second time,
so. I was going to say just the only speculation I could really think of for October would be is that they've already broke the ice with playing live shows on YouTube. I don't think it's completely out of the books or completely unreasonable to see them take it a step further and maybe actually do some sort of actual live stream. But any kind of variant of that, whether it be like them just doing a quick question and answers, or which is unlikely, of course, or maybe it's like an impromptu live show, or it's anything really. But who knows? Maybe by October, the state of the world may have changed for the better.
Yeah, I think I'm still sort of skeptical of the idea that they would play like a music performance in front of no audience, just because it'd be hard. I mean, like because it would be so energyless.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean. But I also kind of think that seems kind of reasonable that they might do some kind of event.
What about that? I mean, when they've been on TV performing songs on those shows, there isn't always a studio audience, especially in the older ones.
Yeah.
It's possible.
The one that comes to mind is, oh shoot, I forget the program. But it's the one where they debuted the unfinished version of the one. There was no audience at that show, and they played a couple of the songs there.
Okay. Yeah, well. And, you know, I'm sure they could probably imagine what it's like to have an audience.
Yeah, I mean, they're professionals.
Yeah, but just the idea that there could be something that happens in October that is secure because it is online doesn't seem insane anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually hoped that when Koba especially, obviously, but Team Babymetal, when they saw how well it did, how many new fans watched it, how well it trended on worldwide Twitter. I think it got up to number 2, so it's pretty big. Hopefully they saw that and are encouraged to try something like this again, especially if it's with a actual live show.
True, that's true. It could have been. I mean, this might not have been entirely just generosity in their part. It might have been really kind of like a marketing test.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and we passed. Congratulations, everyone. Anything else?
Well, I'm seeing a question just right here.
Sure.
If you had access to Koba's hard drive, what is the one thing that you'd copy?
Mm-hmm.
All of it.
There isn't. Yeah. There isn't an easy way to say one thing. You know, it's
because you would stumble across something that's just too good to pass up, and then that's the one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so hard. I mean, we know they have, for example, Palladium. We know they have
exactly. Yeah.
They have tons of camera angles, so we know they have that. We know Koba films everything, so there must be tons of behind-the-scenes footage there. There must be tons of stuff that I think I may mostly be interested in something like that. You know. He must, knowing Koba, he must record the first, when they start recording songs or practicing choreo, choreography. Mm-hmm. So something like that, the first choreography test for Gimme Chocolate or something like that. Something that must be very special.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we see, like, even in like the old SG, videos and stuff, we see occasionally that they're reviewing their performances to improve them and stuff. I mean, like, so there's a very kind of like practical reason to have these videos exist. But it would be really interesting to see them, even looking at them impractically.
Yeah, exactly. We know he records every single second, so.
Yeah, on his little ancient phone.
Yeah, his 1980s camcorder or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. The one that's like property of a muse or whatever. I remember seeing this.
I remember
couple of shots of this camera.
I actually saw him put it up in at the forum. He was in the middle at the back, and I saw him put it up, at the start of the show. It was very funny just to see the huge cameras all around him, and he puts this little tiny garbage camera, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's pretty metal.
it's. I mean, I'm honestly to think he's so successful and he keeps wearing the same clothes that he started with. So I am honestly, I love that. I absolutely love it. See him wearing his baggy pants and all that still.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a cultivated look, but nevertheless, maybe it is. Yeah, no, I think we would all love to see the Palladium. I really wonder what's wrong with it. Something must have gone wrong.
Well, yeah, people said the audio was garbage at the venue, so I think it had to be something around there.
Yeah,
could be. I was in front of a subwoofer. I didn't hear anything but the whole night. So.
Right. And for a week after.
Yeah.
That show was super weird. People talked about it very positively. People saw the debut and so far only time played from Dusk Till Dawn. But at the same time, there were tons of stuff there that came out that people were saying that was pretty negative especially for a Babymetal show. The crush. The absolute crush they said at the burial was horrible.
Yes.
There were issues with lining up. People were cutting line, or they weren't letting VIP in at the same time. There was tons of stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it does have a pretty bad crowd management reputation.
It does.
I mean, I don't know if that's the venue generally, but that show specifically has a lot of complaints on at least that end of it. The management. I don't know about the actual performance, but anyway.
Performance was excellent.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I really wish we had a real shot of the From Dusk Till Dawn. It's like the holy grail now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, maybe at this point I don't think we'll release it, but I remember, for example, the original Legend Y and Legend M from 2014, everyone wanted to see the headbanger, sung by Yui and sung by Moa. And they didn't really have good recording, but they still included clips of them in the huge box set from that year, from 2014.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but some people said basically it's a glorified fan cam. It's basically that, just a bit closer. So
yeah, I think that's about right. And it is frustrating how short they are. But yeah, it just what is that? Apocalypse, I think, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got it recently, and it was boy, that was a rough one to get.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty complete. I always said it's the most complete set. It has 3 shows, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a nice set, but it's a painful one. Okay, well, we can probably close it off here.
Yep, seems good to me.
Yeah, but this has been super interesting to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time to do it. And maybe if there's other big topics, we may ask you again if you wouldn't mind coming to discuss it with us. But this has been very interesting to hear about all of your various projects, and we will of course see you around the subreddit and the Discords and stuff.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun, honestly. So I'm not objecting to coming back.
Excellent. Okay.
Awesome. Cool. And for anybody who may not know, where can they find you? What are the socials, websites?
Well, Babymetal News.
.com.
Yeah, .com, and then the website, and then I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and then basically anywhere else you can find me. I'm basically always Facu474 on Twitter, on Reddit, here on Discord. So just Facu474. That's me.
Awesome.
Is there a significance to the 474?
Yeah.
That we're allowed to know?
Yeah, no, it's when I was creating no, it's okay. When I was creating my PS3 account, I'm a big aviation enthusiast. So I was a kid back then, and and I wanted to put my favorite plane, which was the 747. And now you can see the
Nice.
issue with that.
Nice.
I'm so glad I asked.
Yeah, and
I love that.
there it remains.
That's cool. All right. Well, now I will for sure always remember what your number is there too.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then I will land the plane, as it were, and say that's it for this episode. You can join us on the Babymetal podcast Discord to continue the conversation. Rating the podcast on whatever platform you listen on will help people find it, so please do that. We'll be back here in about 2 weeks, and we hope you'll join us then. And until then, see you.